Alright, this video is about a more personal story of mine. A personal story involving meat, bread, carbs, and insulin. In February this year, I had developed insulin resistance. At 30 years old, thinking that I was actually eating healthy when I wasn't. Now, after only a few months, I've completely reversed it. Just in time for 4th of July. That's how I celebrate 4th of July this year. I reversed my own insulin resistance without medication, through food and diet alone. And the cause of all this was something I had been doing since I was 15. So for literally half of my life, I was engaging in this bad eating habit. A bad eating habit that I see so much of today, all around me. I see everybody doing it. A bad eating habit that slowly and silently destroys your health over time. And I felt the effects of this back in February. And what is this bad eating habit that I'm referring to? Well, simply put, it is frequent eating. Eating 4, 5, or 6 meals per day. Eating 3 meals per day with tons of snacking in between the meals. Constant snacking, constant eating, frequent eating. It does not do wonders for your metabolism or your insulin levels. And I found that out firsthand back in February. Frequent eating. This is something that I learned during my high school weightlifting days, and when I was trying to, build some muscle and look like Rambo, Sylvester Stallone, and all that. Eat 6 times a day for the muscle. Eat every 3 hours. Hell, eat every 2 hours to keep your muscles nourished. And this is a habit I've continued for many, many years. I learned it from weightlifting, and I've continued to do it for so many years, and I notice everybody else does it. It's so normalized, especially here in the USA. I mean, here in the USA, Americans love to eat, just check my previous video. I'm talking about how fat people are and how surprised I am that people are fat outside of Colorado. Oh my God. Yeah. We love to eat food here. And frequent eating is very frequent here. But in the long run, frequent eating is very unhealthy, and it can be dangerous, especially when combined with eating lots of carbs, like bread, white rice, the pastas, the muffins, pastries, and all that other junk. That's all junk. And I did this long term, the frequent eating, as well as eating some of those carbs like bread and pasta. And it eventually led to me sitting in my room one evening, back in February. I was sitting in my room and I was freezing. I was cold. But it was 75 degrees in my room. It wasn't actually cold in my room, but I was there freezing. Now mind you, I had an airport job at that time, so I was working outside in the winter in Colorado. But during the few months leading up to February, I noticed it was becoming harder and harder for me to be able to withstand the cold. And it was harder for me to stay warm, as if there was something malfunctioning in my nervous system. And that night in February, I was also experiencing these massive cravings for this rustic oven bread. Rustic oven bread that I just ate an hour before, and this big old egg sandwich. That's what I had for dinner that night. A big egg sandwich with 4 eggs in between these 2 slices of delicious rustic oven bread. I gulped it down in 2 minutes, and then an hour later, I was still hungry. I wasn't satisfied. I was not satiated, and I still had cravings. And I was also starting to feel fatigue, the fatigue that had become frequent around that time. And that evening I realized that something was wrong. After a week of this, I realized I had developed insulin resistance. That's what all of these symptoms were. They were symptoms of insulin resistance. And this is one health issue that frequent eating leads to, especially when combined with lots of stress. As much as I loved working at that airport in my hometown, I found that job pretty stressful. Airplanes are stressful in like 50 different ways. And mind you, I wasn't eating a ton of sweets. or candy or sugar. I mean, occasionally I would. They had these cookies at the airport. They were free for employees. So I'd eat a couple of them from time to time. They were good, but not good for your health. Nuh-uh. My diet was relatively high in protein. I ate lots of eggs, chicken, and fish. But I used to eat a lot of leaner beef with less fat in it. Ugh. You know, I think back to that and I'm like, how did I eat that for so many years? So I was eating a lot of protein, mostly leaner protein, and my main carb sources were white rice and bread. All that bread and rice and all the chicken and lean beef combined with frequent eating for years and years, also combined with the stress of working at the airport, all this combined led me to having problems with my insulin levels. And the stress of working there sometimes definitely made me want to eat more sweets and more sugar. During stressful days, and there were a lot of them, I would reach for those cookies that they made. You know, I wanted more and more of those cookies. And this is something that usually happens when you have a stressful job. You want more and more sweets, more and more sugar to get you through the day. And having lots of stress definitely worsens the symptoms of insulin resistance. What I had learned was my metabolism was tired. My insulin levels were out of balance because my body was constantly having to digest food, which takes work. It takes work for your bodily systems to digest food. If you don't give your body some rest from time to time, rest from digesting food, eventually you develop health issues like insulin resistance. And at that point, when I was experiencing tons of bread cravings, sugar cravings really, when I was getting fatigue at various points throughout the day, I knew I had a bad health condition and something had to change. Or else, in another year, I would end up with diabetes. So the first thing I did was I got on the keto diet. The keto diet as outlined by Dr. Berg. What I did was I started researching natural ways to reverse insulin resistance, and Dr. Berg's keto plan made the most sense to me. A diet high in protein and fat, and low in carbs and sugar, with zero rice, zero bread, including the fancy bread, no sourdough or rustic oven breads, none of that crap. Zero pasta, no sweets, no muffins, none of that. Similar to the carnivore diet, but not exactly because certain veggies and fruits are included in the diet. Mainly berries when it comes to fruit. Low sugar fruits. This is what I started doing at the end of February 2026. I got on the keto diet and I started following it religiously. And I really owe a ton to Dr. Berg and his work. A lot of his videos saved me from getting diabetes or from developing worse health conditions. And after starting the keto diet, I learned about fasting, the long-term damaging effects of frequent eating and snacking, the damaging effects of seed oils, which are in nearly all processed foods, including most breads, including most fancy sourdough breads. You'll find those nasty oils in that garbage as well. I cut out all seed oils. I cut out nearly all carbs. I cut out the chicken and lean meats for the most part, mainly because those sorts of low-fat meats like chicken, turkey, even most fish, they don't keep you full. If you have insulin resistance, what ended up happening with me was I would eat chicken and rice, I would gulp it all down in 2 minutes, and then an hour later I'd be hungry again. I'd like, I'm hungry again. I want more chicken. I just ate an hour ago. So instead of chicken and other lean meats, I have only eaten red meat and eggs and fish like 1 or 2 times per week since February. For the past several months, just red meat and eggs with some salmon 1 or 2 times per week. Salmon fish. Higher fat proteins that actually keep you full. They keep you satiated and satisfied. And I ate a few veggies, the digestible ones, digestible vegetables, because there are some that are hard to digest. So zucchini, bell peppers, some herbs, and asparagus. And I was already eating berries, so nothing changed there. I've always loved my berries. My grandpa used to have these huge berry bushes. on his ranch, and we picked so many berries off those things, and that's where my love of berries comes from. So yeah, I've always eaten berries. But overall, a diet high in protein and fat and low in carbs and sugar, with a few veggies and berries. The digestible veggies though. Not much cauliflower or, I don't know, Brussels sprouts. What other vegetables are there? I don't know. But I also made sure to stay active and get enough sunlight, because staying active is especially important for reversing insulin resistance. Even if you don't do weightlifting like I do, or you don't have mountains to hike in like I do, at the very least, the best thing you can do after each meal is take a 10-minute walk. If you have insulin resistance, then every time after you eat, walk for 10 minutes. Walk for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but take at least a 10-minute walk. Walking for at least 10 minutes after you eat really keeps your system in balance. Now, some people decide to do carnivore for this sort of health issue. To some people, that becomes the solution to health issues like insulin resistance. But since I was already active hiking and weightlifting, and since I live in a very sunny place where the sun really helps us with our health here in Colorado, I decided to go with keto. I think carnivore works best for people in more severe health situations. Like, the more severe your health issues are, the better carnivore is for you. But anyway, with this keto diet, it's become easier and easier for me to reduce the frequency of how many times per day I eat. You know, before I was eating 5 or 6 meals per day, and most of them were medium-sized meals, and some of them were just snacks, really. And I was always snacking, just never letting myself get hungry, never giving my digestive system rest from eating. But as of now, I eat only 2 or 3 meals per day. 2 or 3 big meals with no snacks in between. And that's all I need. No more cravings. No more fatigue. And it feels damn good. Feels damn good. I feel much better than I did back in February. When I eat now, I feel satiated every time afterwards. Especially when I'm eating, while eating. Because before I started this keto journey, whenever I would eat, I'd try to gulp the whole thing down in 2 minutes. Whatever I was eating, I'd try to gulp it down as fast as I could. This is one problem that can happen if you have insulin resistance, or if you're diabetic or pre-diabetic. It's harder for you to be satiated. And certain foods, especially sugary foods, will keep you from feeling full. And if you have insulin resistance, you'll eat a meal and carbs like rice, bread, anything sweet will keep you wanting more and more food. It's harder and harder for you to stay full, you know, and this is something that I experienced. But now I don't experience that. Ever since getting on the keto diet, ever since I cut out nearly all the carbs, and nearly all sugar, now I can just take my time eating. I don't have to hurry up and gulp it all down in 2 minutes. No, now I just take my time. No rush. You know, the world's not going to end in 5 minutes. So I just take my time eating now. I've got more control when I eat. More self-control. And I've got more control of my energy. I feel more stable. And I have more energy. Especially in the gym. I remember before February of this year, when I went to the gym, I'd have energy for the first 20 minutes of my workout. And then I'd be like, ugh, I'm tired, I'm about to faint. And I'd have the barbell almost dropping on my head mid-set in the middle of my workout. And I would want to end my workouts after only 20 or 30 minutes. I was crashing from the bread and the sugar that I had in my breakfast. And of course, for breakfast, I had eggs. I've always eaten eggs in my breakfast. And I would drink mocha coffees as a pre-workout. Yikes, bruh. That's definitely a recipe for having the barbell fall on your head mid-set because you're crashing, you're getting too tired halfway through your workout in the gym. But now I don't have any of that. No more mochas. No more sugar in my breakfast. And no more crashes. No more cravings. No more fatigue. My energy's stable. I last longer in the gym. I last longer throughout the day. I last longer everywhere, god dang it. I last longer everywhere, god damn it. My energy is more stable and abundant. And I think I've reversed my own insulin resistance. I have walked it back so many steps. Quick and important edit. These Gatorades behind me when I sit at my desk are Gatorade Zero. These are sugarless Gatorades. Just thought I would clarify that. And the only doctor I saw about this was Dr. Berg. Well, I didn't actually see him. I was just watching his videos on YouTube. Who recommended no medication. The only thing he recommended, the only thing he recommends is the right foods and a proper human diet. Anyway, this is my testimony when it comes to insulin resistance and frequent eating. Frequent eating, one of the most common bad health habits that pervades the modern world, especially here in the USA. Americans love to eat. Frequent eating is a big issue in this country, and it's a big issue in many other countries, I'm sure. But my solution was the keto diet. Healthy keto, as well as staying active and getting enough sunlight each day, because those are two factors that also play a role in fixing insulin resistance and related health issues. I'll be making more videos on this topic because I think it's extremely important, especially when I see so many people out there who clearly don't know how to eat properly. Even weightlifters and people in the fitness world who think they're eating healthy, but they're making this one mistake, frequent eating, and they're not actually healthy as a result. They're not as healthy as they could be. The way how we eat and what we eat is very important. Anyway, stay tuned for more videos on how to eat right and how to eat the natural way. Peace out.